Nigeria just passed the biggest budget in the history of this country, 68.32 trillion. And when you hear that number on the news, they make it sound like we are suddenly rich, like money is flowing, like Abuja is finally working for Nigerians. But I want you to stop celebrating for 1 second and do one calculation with me, because the number they are not announcing is this. The government only has the cash to pay for half of it. The rest is a trap. And you are the one, you and me, who will pay for it, because our government walk into it, we do the payment. Let me give you a simple example that every market woman, every shop owner, every student can understand. Imagine you run a shop. You need 100,000 worth of goods to keep that business running and flowing. But when you open your drawer and count what you actually have, you find 54,000 naira. To complete that transaction, you have no choice but to go and borrow the remaining 46,000 naira from a lender. That is exactly what the Nigeria federal government just did. On a national scale, out of the 68.32 trillion they approved to spend in 2026, the government only project earning is 36.87 trillion from oil, from taxes and customs. That leaves a gap of 31.45 trillion. Nearly half of the entire national budget for this year is completely dependent on borrowing. And Budget, one of Nigeria's most respected fiscal watchdogs, confirmed it in plain language. The government can only finance 53.9% of this budget from its own revenues. The remaining 46.1% is what? Loan. Is loans. Here is what nobody is talking about on the news, or rather what Abuja does not want you to understand. Nigeria has a law called the Fiscal Responsibility Act. It was passed to stop government from borrowing recklessly and destroying the country's finances. Under that law, the deficit, meaning the gap between the government ends and what it spends, cannot exceed 3% of GDP. That is legal ceiling. 3%. The 2026 budget deficit is 6.41% of GDP. That is more than double the legal limits. And the National Assembly looked at that number, approved it anyway, and everybody went home. No accountability, no consequences. Because in Nigeria, the law is for the citizens, not for the government. Now, let me show you how this enters your daily life. You know how those loan apps work? PalmPay, OPay, Carbon, all those loan apps. When you owe them, they do not care if you have eaten. They do not care if your child is sick. The moment any money drops in your account, they deduct automatically. No negotiation, no pity. That is the exact track Nigeria is in now. According to International Monetary Fund, their own assessment published this year, Nigeria will spend 53.7% of its entire government revenue servicing debt in 2026. More than half of every naira the government earns goes straight to creditors before our own road is fixed, before one doctor is paid, before our school gets new book. And the allocation to debt servicing this year alone is 15.52 trillion. Compare that to health, 2.48 trillion. Education, 3.52 trillion. Debt servicing is bigger than health and education combined. The government is spending more money paying lenders than keeping you and I alive and our children educated. Think. But remember, the government does not have its own personal money. So when the lender comes to collect, where does the government go? To you. When our only basic then come to you. That is why you are seeing aggressive taxes on small businesses right now. That is why custom duties keep changing without warning. That is why electricity tariffs go up and they tell you it is reform. That is why fuel prices refuses to come down even when crude oil is not expensive. They are squeezing every kobo that can come out of citizens and businesses because they have a 31.45 trillion hole that somebody has to fill. That hole does not appear by accident. It was signed into law. And the borrowing plan for 2026 alone is 29.2 trillion. They are borrowing 29.2 trillion in 1 year. Even presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar called it alarming. Even members of the Senate said it aloud. But the budget passed. It always remain passed. So, here is the comment I want you to answer in the comments today. If you personally run a business where you spend double what you earn every single month, borrow the difference, and I've been doing this for years, at what point does this business collapse? That's the question. Because that is Nigerians' budget right now. And the collapse does not happen in Abuja. It happens in your market. It happens in your hospital. It happens in your child's school. In your pocket, every time prices go up and your salary remains the same. Write your answer in the comment. I want to know if Nigerians are reading these numbers or just seeing the headlines, because at this point we need to see beyond the headlines. That is the 2026 federal budget, not the celebration version. Forget all those things you see on TV. The actual numbers: 68.32 trillion approved, 38.87 available, 31.45 trillion to be borrowed, a deficit more than double what the law permits, and the debt servicing consuming 53.7% of every naira the government earns, according to IMF. That is political accountability series, and I am not stopping. Follow Patience Immense on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and share this video right now, because the government is counting on you not doing the math. Prove them wrong.